Thank you to all of our junior parents for being here today. Again, we apologize for the little technical glitch we had with our Zoom link. So for any parents that are not able to get on, if you're getting text messages or calls from friends, all they have to do is copy and paste the link from my email into their web browser. It seems that it is not working if you just click the link directly. So if you can just share that information with them. I also have here, so before we get started, I'm just going to introduce myself. I am Ms. Karuba. I am the Director of School Counseling Services from the district. I'm sure you guys have seen me before and have gotten numerous emails from me about a whole plethora of things. But we also have our principal, Ms. Lauren Glynn, and our vice principal, Mr. Finizio here. So I'm going to give them a minute to introduce themselves before we get started.
Good morning, everybody. We're so happy that you were able to join us today. Even though we're virtual, we still think that this format has been working pretty well for our meetings, and we're able to still give you the same information that we were able to give you in years past in an in-person environment. So we're very excited. Junior year is an exciting year for your students, and our guidance department is fantastic. They're going to give you a lot of important information today. I just want to share one thing with you. I'm going to be sending a letter out this afternoon, just reminding you that if you have a virtual student that you would like to return to hybrid coming for the second marking period, that I would need some sort of email or a phone call from you in the next couple of days in order for us to make that switch. But we are very happy with the way our hybrid program has been going so far. We hope you are too. We're working really hard. Our teachers are doing a fantastic job, and we really, no matter what the circumstances are, we think it's going to be a great year. So have a good year.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mr. Finizio. I am one of the vice principals here at the high school. I am mainly in charge of attendance for all 4 grades, and I also work closely with the 9th and 11th grade, specifically when it comes to any discipline-related issues. If you do have any questions in the future that come up, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email, or phone. I know this is not a normal situation, but like Ms. Glynn said, we are making the best of it, and we want the best experience for your children. So thank you for your support, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr. Finizio and Ms. Glynn. So just to start our before we start our presentation, I'm also just going to introduce our counselors. We have Ms. Cadell. Ms. Cadell is, for some reason, her screen, we can't see her right now, but she is there, and she is the beginning of our alphabet. We have Ms. Acosta, who is the second part of our alphabet, Ms. Lawler. And then we also have Ms. Alvarez, who is filling in on maternity leave for Ms. Brown. So today's presentation, we are going to briefly kind of talk to you guys about counseling the college applicant. We know that there are so many different things going on in the world right now, and everyone's a little bit on edge in terms of what we're going to do, what they're going to do with college application season that is quickly approaching. But don't worry, we are going to kind of briefly go over what you should be doing right now and how you should be planning for the summer and the spring. Okay, so Nicole, you could change the slide for me. So again, this was just a list of everyone in our counseling department. Here is the breakdown of all of our counselors' their alphabet by last name. So if you're not sure who your child's guidance counselor is, you can go by their last name and this will tell you. And just to kind of talk to you a little bit about the guidance or school counseling curriculum for junior year, we do a lot of things with our students. In addition to social, emotional, and academic counseling, we also offer all of the following things for our junior class. So normally in September, we have a college fair that we have about 100 different colleges that attend. Obviously, this September was a little different and we weren't able to do it, but I have been emailing out to all the students virtual college fairs. So please encourage your children to participate in them. They are posted right on the school counseling Google Classroom. If they do not belong to that, please encourage them to reach out to their counselor to get the code to join. And we are changing, we are hoping, fingers crossed, that we will be able to reschedule our September college fair for the spring.
That's Nicole as well. And I can't change that.
Laura, if you could just mute yourself. Okay. Oh. Okay. Did we skip a slide, Nicole? I'm sorry. Okay, yes. So in November, we hold this this event for all of our parents to get you guys ready for the college application season that's vastly approaching. And then between November and January, we start to schedule class school counseling lessons for all of our juniors. We go over a whole plethora of topics to also give them basically all of the same information that we're giving you guys. We start to give it to them. So we'll talk to them about the SAT versus the ACT. How do they know which test they should take? Which test is better suited for them? We'll also talk to them about asking for letters of recommendation from teachers, how they select those teachers, what they need to give those teachers so those teachers have a really good idea of some of the things that they've done and they've experienced. And then January through March, every one of our school counselors holds one-to-one scheduling meetings to plan for senior year. So we help that our students pick their individualized schedule for September. In March, we hold a college panel event, and that's when we have about 6 to 7 colleges that come to visit us right here in Fort Lee. And we ask them a plethora of questions that range from what kind of students they look for, what would set an applicant above another applicant, what is their Greek life look like, what does their social life look like, you know, and it just gives students a way to compare what different schools have to offer. And then in April through June, you'll get an invite from your guidance counselor for a one-to-one pre-college meeting. So this is when you, your child, and your counselor will sit down and you'll really start to talk about the schools that fit your child's desire and your desire, where, you know, where their GPA kind of lends them to getting into school, what's a target school, a reach school. And then again, we have a very similar meeting to that in September, again, of the senior year. And those happen from April to June. So for today's agenda, what we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about is the SAT versus the ACT, junior year checklists and timelines, and the use of Naviance, which is our program and software essentially that we use to process all of our college applications. And at the end of this, there will be questions and answer. There will be time for questions and answer. And this entire video will be recorded and emailed out to everyone. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Diana Acosta, who will be doing the next few slides.
Good morning, parents. So basically, there are 2 major standardized tests. They are the SAT and the ACT. We have a slide where I'm gonna discuss the difference between them. If you take a look, start with the SAT side. There are fewer geometry questions in the SAT. There is more time per question on the SAT, but you have to be aware that there is also a no calculator math section. So the SAT takes about 3 hours. It's broken down into 65 minutes of reading, 35 minutes of writing. The lowest score you can get is 200, the highest is 800. So it's between 200 to 800 points. 25 minutes for the math with no calculator, 55 minutes for the math with calculator. Again, the lowest score there is 200 and the highest is 800. So the total number of points, the lowest would be 400, the highest would be 1600. Time per question, there are 75 seconds for reading, 48 seconds for writing, 83 seconds for math. If we take a look at the other side, the ACT, there's lots of geometry on the ACT. It's faster paced than the SAT. There's one tough science section. So the ACT has 35 minutes for the reading, and the lowest score would be a 1, the highest would be a 36. There are 45 minutes for English, again, the lowest score 1 and the highest 36. There's a 60-minute math section, again, the low score of 1, the high of 36, and there's a 35-minute science section, again, the low score of 1 and the high score of 36. Timing per question, there's about 53 seconds for reading, 36 seconds for English, and 60 seconds for math. The one thing that I would suggest before you decide on either of these two tests is that the student take a practice test before actually taking the test. So I want them to see how it feels to take that no calculator math. I'd like them to see how they feel taking the science section of the ACT because it is particularly difficult. Okay. And here we see what dates tentatively, again, because we're in a pandemic, when tests will be offered. So you see that both the ACT and the SAT are given on different dates in December. The ACT is given in February, the SAT is given in March. The ACT is given in April, the SAT in May. The ACT, both of them are given in June, different dates in June, and there's one SAT in July. And now I would like to introduce Ms. Laura Cadell, who will take on to the next slide.
Good morning, parents. I want to also talk to you a little bit about the SAT versus ACT. So once you decide what you think is the best option for your student, just keep in mind the two different ways that you need to register. So for SATs, your child needs to have a College Board account. For the ACTs, it's a different website. It's act.org. Just something to note about the testing, as your juniors are coming through this year, they should try to take the exam at least once before the end of their junior year. They may benefit a little bit more because they are juniors. Our seniors now are having difficulty taking the exam because of all the cancellations due to the pandemic. But a lot of the colleges have also actually waived the testing requirements for this year in any event. So for your juniors, I'm hoping that they'll have more of an option to register, if not between now and the end of this year. Definitely for 2021, we're hoping they should have the ability to take it at least once. Make sure your child keeps their free or reduced lunch application up to date, because if they do, that could qualify them for any type of fee waiver or application fee waiver for the testing. If you would like to maybe enroll your child in a prep course for some extra support, there's a few here that we listed. There's the C2 Education, there's Kaplan, the Princeton Review, Huntington. These are just some of the sites that our students use. Also, if your child wants to take an SAT subject test, which would be, they would take a subject area in a area that they do well in. So for example, if they do well in the sciences or they do well in the English area, they may want to register for a specific subject test. Again, we're not sure what will happen with the testing next year, but there are certain dates that the SAT offers subject tests. So just kind of be on the lookout. My best advice at this point would be to check the College Board website and ACT as well, to sort of see if we're not hosting it here, which normally we do host a lot of exams during the year, maybe another neighboring high school will. The next thing for juniors to really be cognizant of is their transcripts, which is something that they can control. A lot of things we can't control that's happening, but they can absolutely control their grades and what their transcript looks like for their college planning. So these are just a few of the things that will be done with their school counselor. They will review their transcript and check credits for graduation requirements. We will start that process the beginning of the year 2021, and that goes through till about March. At that time, your child will sit with their guidance counselor, go over courses that they would like to take from their junior year moving into their senior year. At this point, this is, we hope they have an idea of maybe what they want to study, maybe something in the business area, something, you know, in the humanities area. So they would be able to sort of sit with their counselor and choose courses based on their area of interest. Just a few things to keep in mind: that in order to graduate, you do need 120 credits, which they will go over with their guidance counselor in a little bit more detail. The other thing to keep in mind is that the GPA is cumulative from freshman year. So if you look at a transcript, your child will have their freshman year grades, a GPA, sophomore year, and then junior year. And then at the ends of the transcript will be a cumulative GPA that we will use for college planning with your child. If your child would like a copy of their transcript, they can get it through the guidance department. Their counselor can email that to them. But that is something that if they would like, they can request it through us. Again, your child should choose courses related to the major of choice. And again, GPA is cumulative, so every year counts.
Hi parents, thank you for joining in terms of junior year, as you can see, to prepare for college, there is a lot to get done, and it is kind of a big checklist. So what we suggest, you know, we give this information at the beginning in November, so this way you can kind of do a little bit and it doesn't feel overwhelming. Okay, so since there is a lot to do, if you want to have a nice smooth fall come September, October, getting all of this stuff checked off your list by the end of junior year will help alleviate some of that stress. And so as a parent, it's important to start having the conversation about the types of colleges you want to apply to as a family. So just those basic things like, do you think your son or daughter would be better at a small school, or are they interested in a big campus with a lot of students, 40,000 plus? Are they going to want to live on campus? Are they going to dorm? Do you want them to commute? Do they like the city? Do they want to be in a more rural area? You know, what's the distance that you're willing for them to go from home? Those are all the basic things to start talking about. So I would say start there now if you haven't already. And then once you decide that, then you want to start to look at the programs at the schools that you're interested in. Do they have the major that you're looking for, and do you meet the criteria for that major? Okay, so that's a big part of this, and I'm just going to give you a couple of tips before we go into Naviance. When I guide my students and we talk a little bit about creating a list, I think it's a great idea to have both public and private schools on your list. Even though the cost of attendance for a public school is much less, I don't want you to completely rule out the private schools because they tend to give more merit-based money than the state schools do. So sometimes that can equal the playing field between public and private. Another thing that I suggest is to have both in-state and out-of-state colleges on your list. Now, especially more out-of-state schools are offering in-state tuition for students with a specific GPA. 3.5 and higher will usually get you some sort of either merit-based from an out-of-state or potentially the in-state tuition. Okay, so you don't want to completely narrow yourself, and that's a good, I don't know, I think it's a good tip to just kind of have all 4 of those schools on your list. It's also a good idea to have schools on your list that your child completely over exceeds the entrance criteria, excuse me. So what I mean by that is your child has a 3.5, have schools on the list that accept a 3.0, a 2.8, a 3.2 as their average GPA. This way you're hedging your bets a little bit more in terms of that merit-based scholarship money that they would be able to receive from that school. It's also nice to have those super safes, I call them slam dunks, because they make us feel good when the letters and the acceptances start coming in, like, oh, this school really wants me, they want me, and they're also going to be giving me X amount of money for me to come here. Okay. The most important tip that I could give you guys is that, you know, you want to help to create a realistic list. And realistic meaning, you know, you don't want to be too obsessed with the ratings and the reputation of the college. It's obviously we all want our children to go to, you know, a very reputable and high rated college, but you also have to look at the fit of the college for your son or daughter in terms of, you know, the campus. You want it to be a good fit academically, but also emotionally and financially. I'm a big proponent of making sure that, you know, the kid is a bigger fish in a smaller pond as opposed to vice versa. They tend to become leaders on campuses like that and do much better. And you also want to make sure within that realistic list, there's the return on investment. Okay, so college honestly is what the student is going to make of it. And I think that's an important piece of the puzzle when you are starting to create that list. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of tips, but all of that being said, like, where do you start and how do you do that? How do you start creating that list? Okay, so you can use College Board. They have a college search. You can use College Search Scorecard, also has a college search. But all of our students and our parents actually have access to Naviance, which is our online portal that we use for everything college related. So I'm going to have Ms. Alvarez, if you could go into our mock student. We'll go into Betty Bridgman right now. Okay, so this is Betty Bridgman, and she is also a junior, just like your son or daughter. And this is exactly what it's going to look like if you access Naviance or your child does. Okay, so as a junior, you're always going to use the colleges I'm thinking about list right there under my favorites. You can access it there, or you can access it at the top under colleges. Okay, so Betty is just starting off, so she hasn't been thinking much about it, but she wants to get started. Okay, so in order to kind of create that list, we're going to use the super match feature up on the left-hand side. And she hasn't talked too much about what she wants with her parents yet. Okay, but she does know in terms of location, if you see up top, these are all the different criteria that you can choose from. Okay, under location, she knows she wants to stay in Jersey. She's a Jersey girl and she wants to go to either a public or a private school here in Jersey. She also knows that she wants to get her bachelor's degree. She wants to get a 4-year degree, and she thinks she might want to study accounting. Okay. Just by having those two things figured out already, Naviance Search is going to give her a couple of colleges that she could potentially look at. And within this search, it kind of lays it out for you to where you can see whether or not it's a match in terms of your GPA. They also have the tuition and fees, which comes in handy. The other thing to notice here, you can notice between Stockton, which is a New Jersey state school, and Drew, being a private school, the tuition, like I was saying, for Drew is obviously much higher. Okay, that's just tuition, and then on top of that, you have the room and board. Whereas the tuition for an in-state school is usually around between, the Stockton happens to be one of our lowest in-state tuition. It's usually between like 10 and 15 grand. And then room and board is usually another 12 to 15 grand on top of that. Okay, so out of pocket, usually our state schools are a better deal. However, like I said, Drew would be offering more merit-based money. Okay, so from this, she decides that she thinks she would like to maybe look at Drew, Stockton, and Jersey City. Okay, so by clicking the heart, she's favoriting it or loving it. Oh, did Jersey City not pop up this time?
I think Jersey City didn't come up this time.
Okay, all right, so let's pick another one down there. Let's see on the bottom. Widener, Montclair. Let's do Montclair because that has a 3.2. Okay, so when you press the heart, that means you love it, and it's automatically going to be appearing now on your colleges I'm thinking about list. That's how you start to create this list. You can also add schools on the list. Say you just know you want to apply to a specific school. You can also add that to the list by clicking that plus side, add colleges to this list. Okay, so right now, Betty has Drew, Montclair, and Stockton. The first button that we usually tell our students to press to see how they stack up is the Compare Me button. When we press this Compare Me button, it's going to let her know how she stacks up in terms of the average GPA for that school. Ms. Alvarez, if you could just scroll down a little bit because the pictures are the other way. Sorry, the photos are covering the
Oh, I'm scroll down as much as I can.
Then scroll up, sorry. Okay, so if you take Stockton, the average GPA, so we've had, if you look all the way on the right, we've had 17 students get into Stockton out of the 34 that applied. So again, these are Fort Lee statistics. It's not a national perspective. It's just the students from Fort Lee High School that have decided to go here. The average GPA of those 17 students has been a 3.37. Okay, now Betty has a 3.2, which is a really nice GPA. You can kind of see that up top there, her stats. And even though she has a red X, if Betty was on my caseload, I would not say that any of these schools are a super reach. Okay, maybe Drew being an average, you have to remember with an average, that means some above and some below. And what Naviance doesn't do is really give us, you know, what the student was majoring in. That happened to get in. So what I usually say, if you do have a red X on the compare me, is now you're going to want to click on the school. Okay, click on the school on the left, any of those schools. And the best research in terms of whether or not you think you can get into the school is going to be done on the school's website. Okay, so Naviance will give you a nice profile page here where you can kind of scroll through the acceptance rate, the overlaps, the deadlines, things like that. But especially now during the pandemic, it's a good idea to go directly to the website because the websites are going to be updated first prior to Naviance. Okay, and on the school's website, they're going to give you the updated information about whether or not they are test optional, test flexible, but even more importantly, what their admissions profile was for the previous year. Okay, so Naviance is giving you an average of all of the years that we've had Naviance, whereas the previous year's admissions profile is going to give you a better idea of what they are currently accepting. Okay, and this is also where I want the students to see, do they have what I'm interested in? This girl wants to be an accountant, so obviously she's going to want to go in and check out their business program, see if she changes her mind, maybe she wants to do accounting and something else. Is that an option? Usually on the first page, you can see over here, find your programs, the College of Liberal Arts, accounting falls in there. And that's where you as a family just going to kind of click through. You can kind of get lost in this type of research before you know it. It's like a half hour, hour later, and you're still kind of like looking through the website. Also, when you're on here, and we'll talk about this a little later, it's a good idea to schedule a virtual tour. So up top, you could see visit next to programs or schedule tour. They have it right there. Right now, most of the schools are not having in-person tours. However, you can still schedule a virtual visit and get to know the admissions reps. And I think that's a great idea for right now. Okay, so going back to the list, the colleges I'm applying to list, this is the basic thing that we want all of our juniors to do. And remember, you can have as many schools on the thinking list as you want. Just because it appears on your thinking list doesn't mean that you're actually going to be applying to you. So we encourage you to put schools on this list, do the research. Maybe you had Montclair on there and then you realize, oh, I don't really like their accounting program. If you don't like something then and you don't want it on your list anymore, you would just click on the box to the left of the school and then remove it by the garbage can. And then it would no longer appear on your list. Another nice thing that Naviance does, when you start putting colleges on your list, it will ask your son or daughter if you want to quote unquote connect with that school, which basically means they're going to start to spam email you, but it also means that they are going to give you more information about their current trends and patterns and their admissions profile. And it's a good way for the kid to show that they are interested in that school. So if the school does ask you if you want to connect, they should definitely connect with them. Okay. So another aspect of college applications is asking for letters of recommendation and giving us, the counselors, information to write our written evaluation or our personal letter. Okay, so you'll do this, or your son and daughter is going to fill out the pre-college survey, which is up by the About Me tab. And Betty, you're going to go to My Surveys. Betty already started hers, so hers is in progress. And what this gives us, it gives the counselor information to fill in all of those blanks. Okay, so our written eval goes with the transcript, so we try not to, you know, echo what's in the transcript. We want to give more information. We don't have to say that your son or daughter has a 3.8 because they can see that on the transcript. We don't want to say that they've taken rigorous courses because they can see that on the transcript. So what we're trying to talk about is, it's more of a character reference. What have they done over the summer? What makes them tick? What type of student are they, in their friend group, in their family? What do they do in the summers? Do they have a part-time job? What sports do they do? All of that. Okay, so it is kind of lengthy. They don't have to worry about, formatting or grammar or anything like that. This is really just us getting the information that we need to write their letter. Okay, so honestly, the better that this is filled out, the better the letter will be. So the more specific. So if you did work a part-time job, you're going to want to tell the counselor where you worked the part-time job. Did you like it? What responsibilities you had there? And that will tell a lot about the student. Okay, as a parent, you can help them fill this out, because sometimes the kids forget what they've done, or maybe they're not sure what makes them unique. But as a parent, you definitely know what makes them unique, and you know why they're special. Okay, so we definitely lean on the parents with this as well. And if there's anything you ever want to email to us separate from here that you would like us to include, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay, so in addition to the pre-college survey, we also have a resume, which you can get to over on the left there. Interesting things about, or over there, there is a resume. Yep. Betty already started hers. So the nice thing about Naviance is that it'll format it for you already, and it's done. If the students are in AOF, they actually do a resume through the Academy of Finance. But if they're not, they can use Naviance for their resume. And this will help to organize themselves as well in terms of what they do. And then they have something prepared, that tangible, that they can take with them on an interview if offered an interview come senior year. Okay, so it's always a good idea to organize all of this, because they will get asked on college applications what they've done. So having it organized prior to that is important. Okay. In addition to our letter, we like the juniors to ask 2 teachers for a letter of recommendation as well. Okay, so those letters, we like them to ask before junior year ends. Okay, so they don't have to worry about that right now, because our teachers are actually still writing for our seniors. But we will remind them of this again before the end of junior year. Just start thinking now about who you want to ask. 1 teacher from the humanities, so you have your English or social studies, maybe psychology, soft science, something like that. And 1 teacher from the STEM, so your science, maybe your business, maybe your math teacher. Okay, and 1 from each. Most colleges don't allow us to send more than 2 letters, so you don't need to ask, 5, 6 people. Ask 2 people that you think know you well, that you did, decently in the class, or maybe that you've, started out doing poorly and then really improved. I think that's an important piece of the puzzle as well. And then once they get the yes, then they will come back on Naviance senior year and request it of them. But what we just want you to start thinking about now is who you're going to ask. Okay, I think that's everything on here if you want to go back to the PowerPoint. And the last thing on the checklist in the previous slide is for athletes. Okay, so if your son or daughter plays sports with us here at Fort Lee High School and they are looking to play Division I or Division II sports, which are the only 2 divisions that offer scholarship money, it's a great idea to register on the NCAA clearinghouse. And if that is your son or daughter, I would say do that now, going on to the clearinghouse. We also have a direct link to it on Naviance, or you can just type it in. This does cost money to register on the clearinghouse, and this is how the college coaches know that you're interested in playing a D1 or a D2 sport. And now I'm going to introduce Ms. Alvarez.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Alvarez. So I'm going to go over a few things that your child should be doing over the summer going into their senior year. The first is creating an account with the Common Application. So you can actually access the Common Application right through Naviance. So if you access the home screen on Naviance and scroll all the way down, there will be a link to the Common Application right here. The Common Application is a program that allows students to apply to multiple colleges at one time. The Common App accepts over 900 colleges, so there's a good chance that a lot of the schools that your child is applying to will accept the Common App. In order to create a Common App account from the website, you would just select right here, create an account, and then your child can log in. The nice part about the Common Application is that your child only has to fill in their academic and demographic information one time. So it makes your child's life a little bit easier rather than filling out 10 different college applications for every school they're applying to. They can do a lot of them just from one program. So it's a really great thing that we offer to our students. So again, this is how we access the Common App program. The next thing that your child should be working on over the summer is writing their college essay. So the Common App has prompts for the essay, so we can actually access the different prompts that the Common App has also from Naviance. So same thing, if you scroll down on the home page from Naviance, you will see right here, Common Application Essay Prompts. So if you click there, you'll be able to see all the different prompts that your child can write about for their college essay. As I previously mentioned, it's just important that your child starts thinking about which prompt they want to use, what they want to write about for their college essay, and maybe start writing some rough drafts over the summer, because when senior year starts, they're going to be really busy with all of their classes as well as their college applications. So if your child has time over the summer to start writing their essay, we definitely recommend that. Most English classes for seniors do work on the college essay. So if your child has a head start and already started something, that could be great for them to be starting in their class. And we also recommend that you have somebody proofread the essay, whether that's someone in the English department, if you know an English tutor outside of school, someone with an English background to be reviewing that. Your child's counselor is also more than happy to read your child's college essay to make sure that they are answering the questions that the prompt asks and that we feel it's ready to be sent to the colleges. So going back to Naviance, we did talk about colleges I'm thinking about. So Betty at this point is thinking about Drew University and Stockton University because they're in New Jersey and they have the major that she wants. The colleges I'm thinking about list should be exactly that, colleges that you and your child are thinking about. It does not have to be a college that you know you're definitely applying to, or it could be a college that you might not totally be interested in, but you kind of want to look into it more. During the summer, your child should really be narrowing down that list. Which college do I definitely want to apply to? Which college, I'm going to take it off my list, I'm not interested in. When your child is ready to come up with their final application list, they have to move it over to the colleges I'm applying to list. In order to do that, it's really easy. So Betty did her research on Drew and Stockton, and she knows, yes, I definitely want to apply there. They have everything I need. I'm 100% applying. So in order to move it over, Betty would just select the colleges, and then she would click Move to Application List. This page is extremely important. A lot of our students actually skip this step and move on, but this step is actually extremely important for us as the guidance department. So your child needs to ensure that they put what deadline they're applying for. So Betty, she wants to get her applications done early, so she's going to select early action. In a few minutes, I'm actually going to go over the different deadlines that the colleges offer. And Drew University takes the Common App, so she's going to select via the Common App. For Stockton, it looks like she's going to do the rolling admission, which is May 1st for their fall students. And then Stockton also takes the Common App, so she would select via the Common App. Once your child fills this out and then selects Add and Request Transcripts, we can see it on our end. So we will see all the colleges that your child is applying to, which deadline they're applying for, and how they're submitting their application. So again, this step is really important because we need to know when to have their letters of recommendation ready by, and when to send out their transcripts, and which application type they're using. So once your child fills this out, they will select Add and Request Transcripts. They will select the initial transcript that they're requesting, and Request and Finish. So now these schools have been added to Betty's application list. So these are the schools that Betty is definitely applying to. She's gotten rid of any schools that she maybe not be interested in, and any school that she's still thinking about, she would just leave it on the colleges I'm thinking about list. Okay, so I talked a little bit about deadlines, so I'm going to continue that conversation. So a ton of colleges have different application deadlines that your child can apply for. Early decision versus early action are early deadlines, but there is a big difference between the two. Early decision, also known as ED, is a binding contract, which means that they can only apply to one college ED, and if your child gets accepted, they signed a contract saying that they will attend that school and withdraw all of their other applications. This means regarding if they were interested in another school, but if they applied ED, they have to attend that school. Or if the school that they applied ED for, they got accepted, but they didn't receive any scholarship money, they still signed a contract that they have to attend that school. So if you feel that you don't want to have that pressure, you want to have options, but you still want to get your applications done early, we suggest early action, also known as EA. Early action simply just means that you are applying early. The deadlines range from November 1st till about December 15th. And from there, the benefit is that you can apply to as many colleges as you want that offer EA early action, and then you will hear back earlier from those colleges. So if your child wants to get their college applications done early, they want to enjoy their winter break their senior year, they don't want to think about college applications after Christmas time, we suggest the early action deadline. If your child and your family knows that there's one college that your child and your family is extremely passionate about, no other college will compare, and the financial piece, if they don't receive any scholarship money, is not an issue, then there's the ED application. If your child wants some more time to work on their college applications, they don't want to get everything done within the first month or two of their senior year, they kind of want to use their Christmas break to work on applications, the colleges have regular decision deadlines, which usually are around March to May. So also over the summer and the beginning of your child's senior year, again, they should be working on their college list, getting rid of any schools that they're not interested in, and finalizing the application list. Also over the summer, it's just important that if your child is taking a fall SAT or ACT in their senior year, just to continue prepping for that. So because of the pandemic, many colleges are holding virtual visits. There are some colleges that are still allowing in-person tours, but if your college that you're interested in does not offer that, or your family is not comfortable going on campus, that is completely fine, because now the colleges are having a ton of virtual options. So as a parent, you can help your child by either taking your child to a in-person visit or encouraging them to sign up for a virtual tour. You as a parent can also sign up for any virtual tours or virtual information sessions. And this is the #1 way to get information from the colleges. There's no better information gathering than just speaking to the admissions representatives, the students that are on that campus currently. Anybody that's there, they're going to give you the best answers for the questions that you may have. Colleges also like to see demonstrated interest. So for example, let's say your child has a 3.3 GPA and they're interested in Stockton, but they've never visited Stockton. When they submit their application, Stockton will see that there's never been a registered event for a virtual tour or an in-person campus tour. If another student who has the same GPA, a 3.3, applies, but they have registered for at least one virtual tour or they have attended something, that student might get in over your child because they showed some form of demonstrated interest. So again, as a parent, we just highly recommend that you register for either a virtual tour, you are able to get on campus, anything that you can do to show demonstrated interest, and that you register for that through the college website like we showed before on Drew University's webpage, so the colleges know that you attended and know that you're there. Another suggestion that we have is while you're on these campus tours, whether that's in person or virtually, either take pictures or take notes for each school. Sometimes after visiting a ton of different schools, it can get a little mixed up. Which college had these type of dorms, which college had this academic program. Make sure that you write notes after each session just so you remember which school had what. Because again, after visiting 5-6 schools, it can get a little confusing and things might get mixed up. So you can either create a spreadsheet or a Word document to organize everything that you saw from the colleges. We also suggest that you put things that you liked about that college and things that you did not like about that college. So when you're looking back, it's easy to see which colleges that you're really interested in applying for and selecting for admission next year. And then of course, it's extremely important to ask questions when you're on these college visits. Again, nobody knows the answers better than the college admissions reps, the students on that campus, the academic professors that will be there. Those people are going to have the answers to your questions. So any questions you might have, please answer those during these information sessions or tours. If you're looking for any additional resources, Your Teen Mag has a great amount of resources. So the link is here in this PowerPoint if needed. And now I'm going to reintroduce Ms. Lawler.
Okay, so this whole presentation has really been about the traditional four-year pathway. However, traditional four-year school is not for everybody, and it might not be for your child. So you might be sitting there thinking, this is not the right fit for my kid. I don't think they're either ready to go to a four-year school, or I don't think it's in our budget to go to a four-year school. Whatever the case may be, and every family is different, we are here and we're ready to discuss any of the other options as well. Okay, so in terms of community college, you guys living in Fort Lee, Bergen Community College would be the college, and it is probably one of the best or better community colleges in New Jersey. One of the major benefits of community college is obviously the cost. Okay, it's very cost effective. You can get all of your gen eds out of the way before transferring into a four-year traditional school. So you can use community college to get an associate's degree or a certificate, or you can use community college as your start towards your bachelor's. Okay, so by earning those 60 credits or half of your bachelor's degree, and then transferring into maybe a more expensive school your junior year, those students tend to not only save a lot of money, but maybe they can even get into a better college if they raise up their GPA from the first 2 years of community. Okay, so community happens to be good for our really high achieving students because BCC offers the STAR program. Okay, and the STAR program is kind of like the honors program at community colleges, and the top 15% of each graduating class would get the first 60 credits or for half of their degree first 2 years for free at community college. Okay, so for those students, it's fantastic not having to pay a cent for college just for being in the top 15% of their class. And then in addition, they will also get a scholarship towards their junior and senior year at the college of their choice. The STARS program used to pay in full for the junior and senior year, but it's changed a bit. So I'm not sure what that amount is because it does change every year, but they will get some money towards their finishing up their degree. Community college is also good for students that might not know exactly what they want to study yet. If they're not sure, and most parents are usually like, well, if you're not sure what you want to go into, why don't you get all of the general education classes done at community, kind of figure it out a little bit, get your feet wet at a college level course, and then you can transfer. So I think it's good for our students that are unsure. I think it's good for our students that are really high achieving, and I think it's good financially for just about all of our families. Okay. In addition, Bergen Community College has a ton of articulation agreements with many of the popular colleges, both in-state and out-of-state. And what an articulation agreement is a relationship that the community college has with four-year schools. Okay, and that relationship that they have, or that agreement, would allow for the student not to lose any credits in the transfer from community to the four-year school. And when you're talking about the amount of money that you put into it, that's kind of it's a big part of the process. And BCC does have quite a bit. So in addition to community colleges, there's also trade schools. Maybe your son or daughter is interested in working with their hands or kind of doing a skilled trade, whether it be culinary or cosmetology, or if they wanted to be an electrician or a plumber or a contractor. We're ready and willing to talk about that as well. Here in Fort Lee, we don't have many students that decide to go right into employment, but many of our students that do, their families might own a business and they might help at the family business and maybe take 1 or 2 classes at the community college level. And we also have maybe a handful of students every year that decide to either enlist in a military branch or do an ROTC program through a college. Okay, so we can also discuss that as well. If that sounds more like your son or daughter, you can just shoot one of the counselors an email, and we can definitely make sure that we tailor our conversation towards one of those when we meet. Okay, and lastly, like we said, everyone has access to Naviance. It makes everyone's life a little bit easier. It makes the counselor's life easier. It makes the student's life easier, but also the parent as well. So you have access to Naviance, and you can see all of the same things that we showed you on Betty Bridgman today. And to have access to that, we can set you up, the counselor can set you up, or Ms. Leon, our secretary, could also set you up with your registration code and get you going on there. So you can add colleges just the way that we showed you, or if you want to just use it as view only, you can see what your son or daughter has added.
Okay, that does conclude our presentation for today. I would like everyone and all of our parents to take a deep breath. I know that we gave you a whole lot of information, but don't worry, we are going to go over this information not only with you another 2 times with a personalized counselor one-to-one session, as well as your child in 3 personalized sessions, and also continuous school counseling and guidance lessons in classrooms. I know that a lot of this may seem foreign to you right now, but by the time you get to fall of your child's senior year, you will no longer feel that way. You will feel a little bit more at ease. You'll know what you need to do. This information is going to be disseminated quite a few more times. So, but with that being said, I would like to open up the presentation to questions and answers. If you see on the bottom of your screen, there should be the ability for you to raise your hand. When you do raise your hand, I'm going to promote you to a panelist. You'll be able to share your video with the group. It's up to you whether or not you want to do that, but you will appear the same way myself and the counselors appear in the panelist bar, but you do have to unmute yourself to ask your question, and this way we will be able for everyone to hear all of the questions and answers that we have. So if anyone has any questions, you are welcome to raise your hand. You can also use the chat box and we can answer the questions verbally there. No one? No questions? I think maybe we overwhelmed everyone. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, so if we have no other questions.
There's one in the chat box.
Oh, I'm sorry, let's see. I have one, okay. We do have one question. Did we say that we meet with parents? Yes, we do. So we have a parent meeting in the springtime, as well as, well, it's really towards the end of the school year, as well as again in fall of senior year. So you will get notification of that. It is not mandatory for parents to attend. You are invited. If it works within your schedule and you want to be there, we love to have parents there. You know, sometimes we need parents to kind of reel our students in. You know, they want to go to school in California, but a parent is dead set against their child having to get on a plane to go to college. So it's great when we have parents there. So ideally, we do like that. We have another. Is EA binding as ED is? No, EA is not binding as ED is. Can a student ask more than 2 teachers to write a letter of recommendation? So us, and please anyone, if I'm, you know, I'll probably hand the questions out as they come, but yes, a student can ask more than 2 teachers to write a letter of recommendation, but keep in mind, some schools will not read that 3rd letter. We also have some schools that do not even require letter of recommendations. Rutgers is one of the schools that does not. So you can ask for 3, but it might not be necessary. Yes, the PSAT is still scheduled for January. We were not able to run the PSAT this October because school was closed, but we are planning to have it in January. I want to say it's January 26th, but you guys will, all parents of our 10th and 11th graders will get notification probably before winter break or maybe even in early January about the logistics of that. And the PSAT will be in person as of right now. College Board does not offer a virtual form of that. I want to make sure I didn't skip any questions. Our next question is, can a student take an AP exam if they're not taking the class at Fort Lee High School? Unfortunately, no, we only offer AP exams to the students who are currently taking an AP class in the high school. During the pandemic, there has been very minimal chances for community service. Do you think it's still important for college admissions? Any recommendations on what the students can do before applying? So yes, it has been difficult for students to do community service, but we do have a community service Google Classroom page. And on that Google Classroom page, we have been offering some kinds of virtual activities for the students. There's a lot of nursing homes that are asking for virtual buddies. You know, our older population, they're really struggling with this pandemic, just like everyone else. But they're more at risk. So, you know, they're not leaving their rooms. They're not leaving their the establishments where they're living. So that's a great idea for some of our kids to get involved with. You know, that population really is looking for communication since they're not able to get it in person. So that's a great recommendation. And on our Google Classroom platform, we do have some other things. I can't think off the top of my head. I don't know, ladies, if there's anything you can think of.
There's a drawing to put on the window, celebrating.
But that's for hours. That wouldn't necessarily be something you would write on your college application.
No, I thought it was community service.
Yeah, but there are definitely community service options on that Google Classroom. So I would highly recommend the kids join.
Now that the holidays are coming up, a lot of families that are struggling with the pandemic to give their children Christmas presents or holiday presents, there has been a lot of opportunities for people to donate presents. So if you want to look into that, you can ask me. I'd be more than happy to give out information, but that is another way to get some nice community service hours.
Yes. And I think that may be our last question. I'll give everyone another minute in case they wanted to type something up in the chat or raise their hand.
While we wait, I jotted down a little note for myself. Two things. Since we know this is a lot of information, what I prepare every year is a checklist for each year. So you will be getting a grade 11 check sheet, checklist, however you want to look at it, which basically summarizes everything that we just went over. So this way you always have something to kind of look back to. You don't have to rewatch this whole presentation. It's just on one page, and you can kind of easily see, you know, what am I missing? What do I still need to do? What do I need to get done before the end of junior year? We also give that out to the students. If this was in person, we would have given it out to you today. We will post it on the Google Classroom and make sure that your son or daughter gets it. So that's one thing.
And also when I email this presentation out, I will attach it to that email. So everyone in the junior class will get this video as well as that checklist.
And then the other thing I just wanted to say was the net price calculator. I failed to mention that. When you're on the college website, another thing to type in the search box, something that I like the students to make sure that they put in there is obviously you want to type in scholarship and see whatever is being offered by that college for that particular year and if you would qualify for that. But another thing would be the net price calculator. The net price calculator is going to let you see whether or not you could afford that school. And it's basically like a little mini FAFSA that you would fill out just with some financial information. But I think that's a big part of the process, making sure that you know if you can afford the school. You know, you don't want your son or daughter to fall in love with the school and then not be able to afford it.
Yes. We have one more question. Are both the SAT and ACT recommended, or is one test enough? So we have very few students, you know, Ms. Lawler, I'm going to let you answer that because I don't want to say the wrong thing. From my perspective, we have very few students who do take both. Normally, it's more about researching both tests to see which test you think would better suit your child's needs, the way that they learn. Are they good in math? Are they good in science? If so, I would recommend possibly the ACT, but normally one test is enough. Ms. Lawler, I don't know if you
You
want to
just
add
want me to
that.
follow up on that?
Yeah.
Yes, I think, because we offer the PSAT here at the school, students kind of get a taste and they see what it feels like to take that test. And many do opt to continue in that route because we don't offer the practice ACT. But you can, as Ms. Acosta said, take that practice ACT, through, online or if you're doing a, Huntington or one of the prep courses. But if you're really not sure, and sometimes if students aren't getting the score that they want on the SAT, they give the ACT a shot. The only thing that holds me back from saying yes, just try them both is, the test prep. If you've already kind of committed on preparing for one of them, sometimes that can get confusing and costly to prepare for both of those tests. But no college is going to ask you for both tests. If you do wind up taking both, you would just submit your higher score, whichever test you feel is higher.
We do have another question. It says that during the pandemic, many SAT test centers have changed policy from the national test centers to test only local students. Is Fort Lee thinking about this? So College Board did allow this. In the month of September, there was a test date, and in the month of October, there was a test date where they tested students during the school day, and it was only for that school district's group of students. So unfortunately, in both September and October, Fort Lee High School was closed. So we were not able to offer this to our students. As of right now, College Board is not offering another in-school test day for just home district students, again, until, I'm not sure if I want to say it was May. So it's definitely something that we would consider for our juniors if, we were still in this situation that we're in now. But at this point, it's not even, it's not an option until then. And I think that was our last question. Thank you to all of our counselors. I'm not sure if anyone wanted to add something before we ended. No? Okay.
It'll be okay. It's going to
Yes.
be okay.
Take a deep breath. We're going to get through all of this together. All of the counselors on this Zoom call right now are fantastic. If you ever have questions, reach out. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. We're here to minimize your anxiety with this entire process from top to bottom. And again, it's not, like Ms. Laura said in one of her slides, we are not just here to get our students into four-year universities. All of our kids are different. All of our students need different things after high school. So whatever it is that you and your family need, please reach out to us and let us know. And we are looking forward to speaking with you again and seeing you for your one-to-one meetings in the spring. Thank you, and thank you guys for being patient with us with our Zoom link in the very beginning. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.